Hey honey, welcome back to the channel. Today's the day. I didn't even know today was the day. I'm just feeling it in my bones that I need to get back into this. So I need to explain a couple things and I need to share part of what I've been going through lately, but things are gonna kick back off and we're gonna start, having a good time on here again. I've missed you. I hope you've been doing good, honey. Let's get back into it. Hey guys, okay. So we obviously have a lot to talk about. Okay, I first of all need to I do have new glasses. I'm taking these off because there's blue light and it's gonna be a reflection. I don't want you guys to have to deal with that the whole time. But okay guys, I've missed being on here. If you guys haven't noticed, I've been gone for maybe like 2 months. I want to say like 2.5 months I've been gone, taking some time for myself and just processing a lot that's happened in the last couple months. And it was needed, and to be completely honest with you, I was kind of at a stage where I didn't feel like there was any point at all for me to continue. Just like lost all motivation to post, to film, to even think about YouTube anymore. I mean, I honestly just didn't know how I was going to be able to continue, and all that mattered to me was like my family, relationships, people around me, and just like my faith, and that was all. I was like, I had no idea how I could even justify doing this anymore. But I have kind of I've had a lot of time to think, and so I do feel like this is something that I want to continue, and I feel like this is something that I need to keep up with. I need to keep doing because it could make a really positive impact for other people. On my channel, I've always wanted to focus on 3 things: positivity, love, and just having a good time. And sometimes positivity is hard. I've always told my family and just different people that sometimes positivity, like, that's for you to like really show that you're a positive person and like your positivity, you have to have like difficult things that you go through, or just things that aren't super easy to just be like, oh yeah, like everything's awesome. Like you have to push yourself to really like have a positive mindset, and so that's what I'm gonna try to do. And that's what I am doing now. I'm getting back to where I was before. I really want to keep on doing that, and I want to explain where I've been, what's been going on, and kind of my story, because I do feel like there's so many people out there who are struggling in a very real and raw way, just with similar things to what I'm going through. So I want people out there to know like they're not the only one, and I hope that from what I share with you guys that this could give you guys like some hope. It could give you positivity. It can make you feel a little bit stronger and maybe like less alone. So before I say like what I'm about to say, if there's anybody out there who finds that they can relate a lot to this and they need somebody to talk to, I will be that person who will definitely just be there for you. And if you want to like DM me, I do have my Instagram. Just feel free to like message me, and if you want to like comment on here, just let me know, because it can be really scary if you don't have the people around you to help you through it. I just wanted to make sure I said that. So let's get into what kind of like where I've been, what's been going on, why I haven't had I've just been in a weird headspace, and I haven't had that motivation, that passion inside me to do this until right now. Okay, so let's go back to July 30th. So July 29th, I stopped working. That was my last day of work. Everything was really good. It was such an awesome way to like end work, and I just felt so loved, and you guys will see that. I had that on film and it'll come out eventually, but July 30th was my first day off where I had like no responsibilities. It was summer. Everything was so good. I just felt like I was honestly like at a high in my life, like with relationships, with my family. We were all really good at school. Having a mental break from like responsibility in that way was really nice. I was house sitting at the time. And the next day, July 31st, is when everything changed. July 31st, that's when, the morning of July 31st, I got a call. And a friend of my dad's called me, very frantic and just kind of, I could tell something was wrong. She let me know that my dad was being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, and her idea was that he had overdosed because he was having a lot of bad headaches, thinking that maybe he just took too much headache medication. Fast forward later into the day, my family and I found out from the doctors that my dad suffered from a stroke, a bleeding stroke. And so, you hear those terms. You hear, oh, like so-and-so had a heart attack, had a stroke, had just whatever it may be, and it doesn't affect you. You don't even know what that entails until you're in that situation yourself. And even when the doctors first told me that, I had no idea what that meant. I just wanted to see my dad, and I was anxious and scared, and people were crying, and it was a really hard time. I had no idea what was coming next. Later that day, I finally got to see my dad, but he was in a coma, so he didn't know. He didn't even, we were crying over him, not knowing what was going on. And then, within those days, doctors reminded us this could go either way, but they They had to tell us we needed to prepare because my dad might pass away today, so just to take all the time that you can. So, you know, you're never really prepared to say a possible goodbye to your parent. And my dad and I were really close, like really close, and I love having our talks together, and I just look up to him in like so many ways. He's just like a really awesome example, and you know, he doesn't just show me the good, he shows me the bad, but I like learn so much from him. And so not being able to talk to him, and for him to just watching him in that pain, it was really hard. And when the doctors told us that we might have to realize that, you know, he might pass away from this, it's a really serious condition, I took it in, but I was in shock, and I just ran to the bathroom, threw up. It was like so much pain. And so basically he was in a hospital for a really long time. You know, I was there every single night. I was spending the night with him at the hospital, not getting a lot of sleep. I wasn't eating. That was the most pain that I've ever experienced in my life, and you're just never prepared for that. I was just like so scared, like I needed my dad. And it's one day everything is good. I was talking to my dad the day before, and it's just crazy, like you have access to him, and the next day like it's like I can't. And it was like, what just happened? It felt unreal. Anyways, it was a lot of emotion, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of sadness. But I'll tell you, throughout the whole thing, for those first 2 weeks, I tried my very best never to be angry about any of it, because I know my dad, how he would be if he was in this situation and it was dealing with somebody else. He would try so hard just to keep his faith. And one of his biggest things, I mean, we've gone through so much in our life, and just him personally, things have happened to him, and he always, through everything, would say, it's okay, everything's gonna work itself out, it always does. You know, God always takes care of us. And so I had to think about that every single day, and I just never stopped praying more than I ever have before in my life. I relied on him fully, and I couldn't do anything ultimately except for be there for my dad. I just prayed and prayed that God would be with the nurses, that God would be with my dad, and he would take care of it. That's what kept me going, was thinking about what my dad would do in this situation. I had to find some sort of hope, and that was my hope. You know, one of my dad's other sayings was that joy comes in the morning. So I would always think about that, like, okay, like I'm just waiting for that day, like it's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna work out. So yeah, those are just a couple things that I held on to while all of this was going on. And I had so much family and people around me who were checking in on me, coming to the hospital. One of my best moments is when my friends just came and let me cry with them and just lean on them, and they were there with me, and it was just amazing, and I'm so grateful for that. People from church and from everywhere, just like people I'd never talked to, reaching out, praying, saying they're praying at their church, and just like people who had never prayed before were praying, and it brought me a lot of joy. Even family that I haven't seen in a while, or hadn't seen that much in my life, like we're so close now just because of this experience, and just it brought us together, and I'm so grateful for that. So there was good that was brought to this situation. It was just, it's like such a scary time. That doesn't even explain. I can't even put the situation into words, but it's painful. It's just like uncertain, and I think that's the hardest part, is you don't know what's gonna come next. Okay, but the real reason why I want to share all of this with you guys is because my dad is such a miracle, and I'm so happy and I'm smiling because I do have my dad today, and because he made it through this thing where doctors kept saying, it doesn't look good, your dad's not making progress, your dad, he might be in pain. A lot of different things that looked like improvements, they were saying, oh, it's just involuntary, it's just like his brain, like he suffered a lot of brain damage, so they said it was like, oh, it's just like, it's an involuntary thing, he doesn't have control over it, it doesn't mean he's improving, type thing. When they're telling you constantly, you know, all of this stuff where it's like it's so easy to lose hope, and you just feel like he's slipping away. It's really, really hard, but I just hold on to the hope that, like, there was so many times where, you know, we were blessed with more time. It amazes me because my dad was beating odds, and he's so strong, and I'm so proud of him, but I'm so grateful because I know God was taking care of the whole situation. And so I want to share with you, because this is the life-changing part of this whole scenario. So 2 weeks after my dad was in the hospital, there's certain decisions that you have to start making 2 weeks after in a situation of a stroke, and you have to think about the patient and that family member or whoever it may be, what would they want. And you know, watching my dad being in pain, it was painful for me, and I felt that for him. It's like hard to put into words, but I couldn't bear to see him go through that. And I think going into our family meeting where the doctor was supposed to come in, try to help us make a decision, we all kind of knew where things were headed. It was the most emotional day I've ever had, just preparing for that day and just kind of grasping with what was going on. I was still in shock. And so we're in the room, the doctor's talking to us, he's telling us that he doesn't have much information that he can give to us as to what everything would look like after. There's not much that they can say because every person's different. So and I'm getting chills just thinking about this, because this experience, it was like life-changing, and in that moment everything changed. It takes my breath away, because I'm just so thankful, and I'm surprised I'm not crying right now. I've done enough of that though, but I'm overwhelmed with the turnout. So the meeting ends. The doctor goes back, he gets a call from my dad's nurse. He goes back to see my dad with the nurse, and the nurse called him because my dad started to respond to commands, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the doctor would ask him, like, can you raise your right thumb? Can you wiggle your left toe? Can you move your left hand? Things like that. It shows so much with a person who suffers through a stroke, because it tells the doctor that they can understand what you're asking them, and that they have the ability to actually like perform it and to do that. And so before this, my dad wasn't able to do that and kind of operate at that level yet, and he wasn't really showing much improvement. And for him to make that improvement like right in this time when we're having to make a decision, it was amazing. The doctor rushed back, he came back, and he was like knocking on the door, trying to get in, all smiley. We were kind of like, why is this guy smiling at this time? Like, what could be going on? He's all antsy, he sits down in the chair, and he's just trying to like sit like calm, and he's so excited. He just said, you know, this has never happened to me before, where in the middle of a meeting where we're talking about this, the main information changes. And so he says, your dad is responding to commands, and he is he's making progress, and there's still not much that he can say, but he's kind of saying it without saying it, that, you know, my dad's gonna be okay. Like crazy, we're just looking at my family like, what just happened? For me, that was like such a wake-up call. God's got this, even when it doesn't look like things are going good. Like, he could turn around any situation, and I just felt so much hope in that moment. Like, before I go on a little spiel and stuff, I know there's people who watch my channel and they're not they don't really have a faith like that. They don't have God in their life or anything. Like, they're opposed to that, and they don't want that. I'm not here to like force that onto anybody. I just want to open like the conversation up kind of to that, because I know that there's a lot of people who reached out to me in the midst of like all of this, telling me how, wow, like I could really see what the power of prayer can do, because so many people were praying for this, and for him to be making it through all these stages, I can just see like how that was working in him. But a lot of people reached out to me saying that this is the first time that I prayed in a long time, and I finally saw like this is the first time that I've seen it work, like that he's listening type of a thing. And so if you haven't before, if you want that kind of a hope, if you're going through something like this, I would try to pray. I just want this to be a hopeful message to people out there who might not know that they can pray about things like this when they're going through something so scary, and that you don't have to go through it alone. And that, for me, that was my remedy of how I got through all of this, was I was praying for strength for my dad, for my family, for me. It won't always end in such a happy ending. I know how lucky I am, and I just feel so blessed. I just wanted to share that story, because I told my dad, I told him in the hospital, I said, you're gonna make it through this. I know that this is just gonna be a story that we get to tell down the road to people. Maybe they kind of needed like evidence or something, you know, that he is here. So bringing you up to date, I'm obviously at school right now. All of this happened 2 weeks before I was gonna have to go to school. So when it came time for me to go to school, it was one of the hardest decisions I had to make. I only was able to come because of my family supporting me and telling me that this is what my dad wanted. He loved it. He told me that it was such a blessing that I was able to be here, and I know that. I know it's such a blessing that I even got into Pepperdine, and just the people here are amazing in the community. I knew that that's what my dad would want, so I continued to come here. I was doing it for him, and I'm not going to say it's been easy at all, because it hasn't, and I've had a lot of hard days. I've had times where I've been overwhelmed with emotion, but more just overwhelmed because I feel so blessed, and I feel so undeserving of like having my dad here still, but I'm so grateful. And more just because I miss being a part of his recovery every single day like I was at the beginning. But I know that he has so many people looking after him that I'm so grateful for that. That's where we're at today. A couple weeks after I had been here, my dad finally woke up from his coma. You know, it takes time, and we just have to trust in the process, but he finally woke up, and I'm so grateful for that. And he's making his recovery back at home, and I tell him I'm so proud of him every day. He's worked so hard to get where he is today, just making progress doing simple things that, you know, we don't think about, we take for granted being able to do, and he's working to be able to do simple things like eating again and walking and just being able to understand it and have a conversation. And I'm just so proud of him for working through all of it. I know he's proud of me for being here, just like I'm proud of him for doing his work back home. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I remember the first time that I got to go see him, I was at school. I went home and I was going to visit him for the first time since he had woken up, and I walked in the room, I was overtaken by just like joy and emotion, and I just cried. I just bawled with him, and I was so happy because he looked at me and he could finally see me again, and he was hugging me and holding me and just telling me he loved me and missed me and he was proud of me. And it was crazy because I just prayed every day that I'd be able to talk with my dad again, just be able to sit there with him and do normal life again with him. And it's crazy. The biggest thing I would say is that this was a wake-up call to really focus on what matters in this life, and I don't want to get distracted. Like I said, there's only a couple things that really matter to me in this life, and that's family, relationships, my faith, and finding, you know, what I'm passionate about, but also like doing whatever God wants me to do. I want to do that. And I did find a new passion of what I want to do career-wise, I guess you could say, with my life, and so I'll share that with you guys in another video. But I'm really excited that this kind of opened me up to a new door. And the other thing that this taught me is, right before all of this happened, my sister and I were talking about how we really didn't know what it felt like to lose a person close to us, or what loss felt like, or grief, or something major in our life. And then this happened, and it's like, wow, like my eyes have been open to what that experience is like, and what the family would feel like, and what it is like for the nurses and the patient itself, and just kind of that process. And so if anything, it just has brought me so much empathy and compassion for people who go through things like that too. And I feel like we go through these experiences and these struggles, but there's other people out there who go through the same thing. And so what we can do is we can go and comfort people who are going through that as well, because there were people who comforted me through it too. Like I said, that's why I want people to reach out. And also, if you're struggling with any type of struggle in your life, it's a reminder of how strong you are. You're gonna make it through whatever struggle you're going through, and it's gonna teach you a lot. It's gonna help you grow, and then you're just gonna be stronger. Like, you're gonna be so much more ready for the next thing that comes your way. Not saying that it's gonna be super easy and it's just gonna be a breeze and it won't be hard anymore, but you're gonna know a little bit more each time of how to handle that, and I'm grateful for that. No, I'm really grateful for how close that I've become with my family, especially like two of my aunts. They stayed with me like all the time and just checking in on me, and I just feel like they're like my second moms now, and it's just like really cool. They're checking in on me like when I was at school, and just like being there when I was there, and just, you know, advocating for us and for our dad, and it was amazing. And I know that even in a hard time like this, that it can change your whole perspective if you just try to find the good that comes from it, because there would be good that comes from it. There will be some type of blessing even in something that's really hard. And so that's why I decided that, you know, I'm ready to come back to this, because I'm ready to get back to my positive self. I used to have such a spirit in me that I just, like, right before all of this happened, I was at such a high, and I was watching videos back of stuff that I'd filmed, and, you know, it just made me want to get back to that place. And sometimes we're gonna get knocked down, and so I took a break, and still something that I have to work through. Like when I have my hard days, it's something that's not gonna go away right away. But I think it's important to talk about things that are really happening. Like, it's okay if you're not doing good, and I just want to share that. I hope that you guys get something from this and it helps you in some way. But I also just wanted to be really transparent with you and let you know what was going on with me, that I was having a hard time. And I still do have hard times. Even in a really awesome, beautiful place here, it's really hard when you're still going through, like real things are still happening. Yeah, I just wanted to come back. One of my friends, she reminded me, I hate the word influencer. Some people are out there, you know, spreading kind of like negativity, but sometimes you have to be like an influencer to kind of change that and just, you know, be raw and be real. I hope I could be authentic with you guys. So going into the future, I had videos that I had filmed before all of this happened. They're edited, ready to go. So I will be getting back into things, but first we're going to kind of take a step back to a couple videos before I got to school. Gonna do a couple flashbacks, and then we're gonna reel it back in. We're gonna come back here, and I'm gonna show you everything about the school. I'll just show you more about my world here. I hope you guys are excited for what's to come. Before I end this video, I just want to say, Dad, if you're watching this, when you do get to watch this, I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, and how much I just love you, and I am so thankful that I still have you to do this life with, because I look up to you. And you know, you're my pal. I love our relationship. I love our thing used to be quality time, just being around each other. We didn't even have to be doing that much, but just quality time. And I'm so thankful that we get to do that. Just know I'd be there with you every single day, but I'm doing this for you here at school. So keep working hard at home. I love you. All right, bye honey, I'll see you next time.